Okay, welcome back, everyone. We are going to get down and dirty with some of the data. You can see all my panelists up here, so I'm not going to introduce everyone formally. You know who they are. You can grab them afterwards. I think Henning has just spent the past 20 minutes catching up with some of the audience, so that's great. I'm sure they appreciate your time. Come just a little bit closer to me, everyone. Just a tiny bit, because otherwise, that's it. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. And sort of a tiny bit. There you go. Okay. That's it. I like everyone cozy. Okay. I want to start with breaking down silos and progress there. Now, I do appreciate that this is a journey, and you'll all be at different stages. Let me start with you, Henning. Where are you in the journey in terms of breaking down silos?
As you know, I'm just only 1 year there, so I asked my team, and they didn't know what I asked. Because basically, data is accessible across the whole enterprise, the whole organization. Since 25 years, we actually have this integrated data warehouse where everything is in there. So it's not the problem of the accessibility in that way. The thing is, to break down the silo, I think it's more the silo between the data analysts and the user of it. And that's the next journey. So what we are doing, we are modernizing the whole platform, move it out of the ICW into the Snowflake environment, in a new modern data environment where you can actually use AI and other technology to use it, and then federate out the data analyst into the business units, or in the best of all worlds, actually make every employee of British Airways to be a data analyst and ask the data. So in that way, silos don't exist anymore. Okay, so it's in the right place. You can kind of, it's cohesive, you can draw insight from it, you can take meaningful action. Yeah. I don't get that that's the impression in other airlines. Air France-KLM, for example.
Yeah, in Air France-KLM, it's also breaking the silo is really a journey. And it's not something that you solve overnight. So clearly it is, and it's not a technological challenge. It is mainly a governance challenge and also a mindset shift that we see. For instance, for example, within one of our projects, which is the Aircraft 360, which is gathering all the data of the aircraft, and one of the use cases was at least to share the information about the cabin to the crew. And clearly this data is owned by maintenance, not structured for the usage of the crew, and clearly having at least the right governance, putting the teams together to work together to make these data structured in a different way to be useful for the other silos, other department, and having the right governance, we had to go until the executive committee, at least to have the sponsorship to change the governance around this. So clearly, you see, and when you oversee, at least this hurdle, we can make a lot of significant value, at least to the businesses. So this is the main challenge that we are facing.
So governance is the main challenge. What other challenges are? Because I can imagine that if your data is kind of spread across the organization, there's a lot that you're missing out on. There's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, there is a lot of opportunity, and clearly having a community of data officer with a clear ownership of the data, clear structuring the data, description of this data, and having a data market, at least which is allow opening the data to other part of the organization is really, really key. And this is what we are working on, at least using a kind of data marketplace where at least each organization can allow with a clear governance around it, and at least investing in the enablers which make this at least a collection between all the legacy system that we have and all the backends that we have, gathering all the data in one data lake, which is having global view of the customer for the aircraft and also for the operation is really key at least to manage.
And how are you prioritizing your investment in data? I mean, I appreciate you're only a week or so into the role, but from what you've seen so far, is it customer, is it operations, is it a little bit of both?
This is a really interesting question. So clearly, it's not, in the reality, the way that we look to it is not really a balance between customer and operation. It's mainly a balance between data-driven initiatives and at least all what make an airline work, at least investing in our legacy, investing in our cybersecurity, investing in our move to cloud, and at least with this. And we see that the maturity is really different between different areas of the organization. When it is quite mature in part of the organization, we are as IT point of view, we can go fast, we can unlock value for the businesses. When the maturity is not there, there is a lot of work, as you said, with business analysts, with the businesses, at least about the governance, about structuring the data, and then investing. And last but not least, is also investing in data. It doesn't have a short-term return of investment. So investing in the enabler. So what is the strategic topic where we would like to make the enabler to be able to launch this project, and then at least unlock it with project which is dedicated to the business.
Sreejith, as Ekbel has just said, it's ongoing. It's not just start and finish. So how do you think and how do you see airlines prioritizing their data investment?
Especially as you know, the data is as critical as fuel in the aviation industry. If you wanted to prioritize some of the data aspects, I think I believe that we need to look into the cleaning up the data first. If the poor data, currently many of the airlines have a lot of legacy systems, and the data related to coming to that system are, if you are poor or not poor governance are there, it will not give an adequate result. I think the airlines need to focus on cleaning up the data and bringing the proper governance for the data. Also, another aspect is that the data governance need to be aligned with the business goals. That is key important. That is one of the aspects I can think about the investing for the data aspect. Second one is today many of the systems in the airlines, some of the airlines is too much working in silos. Some of the data related to the customer booking is on system, data related to loyalty in some other system, and the data related to the operation in different system. If we are not bringing all these multiple system into together, we will not get the required output. Airlines need to look for and invest to modernize their core system in order to bring all these data together, which will provide an adequate result.
And Jeremy, it's not just about internal data.
No,
I mean, we know that airlines sit on billions more in terms of data. But there's external data as well, and there's external data that can really bring opportunities.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think, going back to the point about data silos, at OAG we're very fortunate in that we work with teams across the airline. So we work with network planning teams, we work with operational teams, we work with revenue management teams. If I go back 5 years, it was very predictable what each of those teams would need. It was typically only one or two data sets they were looking at, both internal and external. And we've seen a real shift in the last 5 years. I think that's reflected in a few different ways. There's a lot more kind of centralized data teams that are purchasing data on behalf of the whole organization, the whole airline. And we're working with them, and they provision the data into the right teams. And I think the other thing to say is, the teams traditionally, maybe if a network planning team was only really looking at schedules and kind of bookings information, they're increasingly thinking about the impacts of their decisions on operations, and that means looking at kind of other data sets as well. So I think there's been a lot of progress in the last 5 years. I would say that it's a constantly moving feast, right? So the data that's being made available externally is ever evolving. And just to bring a few examples, if you think about the kind of latest evolution of aircraft, some of them have 50,000 sensors on them. Every day they're generating trillions and trillions of data points, which no one's making good value of. Equally, every airline is sitting on billions and billions of searches coming into their websites. And again, I think only very few of the airlines that we speak to are making really good value of that search information. And if you looked across the industry, it would be billions and billions of searches being made every week. And there's a huge amount of intent and demand signals in that information that could be better used.
And we talked post-COVID about how we would be starting to use much more of that data and baking it in, and yet here we are, sort of still talking about not bringing that data in. Why do you think that is? Why are we still talking about doing it?
Well, I think just purely the size of some of these data sets. Some of the examples I just gave there of the kind of aircraft information, we're talking about the kind of aircraft 360 view, the sheer amount of information that's going through those systems every day. Similarly, from a sort of demand and intent perspective, the traditional methods of analyzing data probably don't work across that size of data sets. So it does require different techniques. As I said, very few leading airlines are making good sense of that information, which is sitting there in their own internal systems. I think the opportunity now is how can we build something across the industry that says here's a complete view of demand, intent, signals that we're seeing in the information. So that's not to say there's been no progress, but I think it's a long journey.
Henning, we have our external partners, our technology partners, our information and data partners. We have all of our internal systems. We're trying to bring the data together. How are you baking in data security? Because we see often across the travel industry, that's the industry I'm in, that's the industry I know, but there are these breaches. Is it getting better? Are we improving on the data security side?
I think the number one thing is when we talk about data security, the data in the planes is protected.
Yeah.
It's completely decoupled. So I think when as a consumer I hear about those data security things, I'm afraid that a plane crashed. That is not going to happen, and that is the most important thing of our industry. No one is going to be hurt. And the second imperative is that the data that you trust us, that you give us, like the customer data, is well protected, because that's about trust. And number three is then all the operational data which flows in our environment. We have to make sure that this data is protected, but also not being altered. Because what is the worst thing that can happen in the maintenance record, wherever you find data that is not reliable anymore. So in this journey, we have to protect our data. We have done it in the past. We have to do it even more in the future. So it's a long journey about data protection. It is about encapsulating data, so once you're in, you cannot go further. It's about the continuous race with the cyber terrorist who is out there to raise our protection. But in the end of the day, it's about zero trust. You don't trust anyone, right? You have to make sure the data is protected. Yeah. On the other hand side, we want to give the data into the hands of our colleagues to do everything that you said, just to start exploiting it. Mm-hmm. So one of the main challenges for us is actually to, as you say it, bake in data security, cyber security, deep into our systems by design, zero trust environment, and then give access to those people who authenticate against the data and exploit the data. This balance is the game that we play.
Just because we were talking about connected aircraft before on stage, you and I, if you were given a plane, you'd do connectivity. Ekbel, does that present a big cyber risk, a connected plane?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the risks that we have to manage, and it clearly, as you said, the safety topic in the airline is really important, and having data which is trusted is really important. So that's why, at least, security by design, in the way that we are implementing all these data projects, and also, managing this data is really key. And the connectivity, now we have more and more connected aircraft. So the connectivity is everywhere for our cabin, for our staff, for our customers, is also for the pilots. And clearly having trusted, at least data, is one of the key elements and one of the topic that we are looking at. For our customers, if I may add, is also data ethics is really key. Also, we are helped or supported by the regulation, the European regulation, is also key element that we want also to take into account.
Sreejith, I wanted to ask you about common mistakes that you see airlines making when it comes to their kind of data investment, their data journey.
Okay, thanks, Linda. As you know that every flight, there will be thousands of data points are created from the customer booking to flight performance. Many of the airlines make multiple common mistakes related to the data. I would like to highlight few of those things and its impacts. First one is keeping the data in silos and fragmented. As explained before, correct, is keeping the booking of the customer booking in one system, loyalty in other system, and the flight performance in the different system. This impact is that we are missing the opportunity for personalization, revenue loss, and the delay, the schedule delays, etc. happening. Next, another mistake I can see the airlines make is related to they are using the data for reporting and compliance purpose. They are not using it for prediction, especially for the demand spike happen or some of the component failure, the sensor data sending, airlines are ignoring, that is causing the failure of some of the components in real time. So if we can fix those mistakes, correct, especially that is creating impact on higher maintenance cost, operating cost, even the customer experience, it is getting impacted. Another stuff I can talk about the poor quality of data and the governance part, if you're coming. Those, especially the poor quality of data, can impact the customer experience. Again, the schedule delay, schedule can impact. Also, the missing opportunity related to pricing decisions. Okay, that is a thing. Then the many airlines, what they completely ignore the data related to unstructured data coming from customer feedback, or data coming from social media or operational logs. Actually, this will impact, what will happen is that it will impact the customer experience, and it will also impact the operational improvement. One more mistake I can think about the airlines make is that they are heavily depending on IT team and manual process to create the data. That will slow down the agility and manual mistakes. But all these mistakes, what it will happen is that it will impact the efficiency, it will higher cost, and the customer experience. But one good thing is that all these mistakes can be easily fixed. That is good thing. Okay, by utilizing the modern, using the modern the cloud and AI platforms. As example, I saw in one of the my airline customer, they are using the real-time data validation, which is helping them to improve their revenue streams, or producing more revenues, saving multi-millions of dollars. In another case, I saw the airline customer is using AI for analyzing the customer feedback, which is helping the customer experience part. But I can think about the timing is very crucial. All these things, the airlines need to look into address these things. Especially, this will help addressing the delay, schedule delay. Another point is about the loyalty, also the new revenue stream.
Okay, I just want to stop you for a second, because our two airline friends here are disagreeing with their heads quite vehemently that it's not easy to fix these things. Henning, why not?
No, I think, oh, sorry for that. What you said is everything right. And I think what you describe is kind of, we are swimming in a lake of data. And every day, every month, every year, it becomes even bigger. We should exploit all of the data and collect all of this. Getting the right value out of it is not just done by a fingertip. Because the journey we are on is from being reactive, as you said, to become predictive, and then proactive. Actually learn from the prediction. That journey involves data, and that's our job to make sure the data is accessible, it's safe, it's secure, it can be accessed, but it involves also the people, the whole change management part. So when I think both of us, we have the similar journeys. Even if you give, for example, a controller in an operational control center a new predictive tools in the hand, the responsibility of an aircraft being kind of diverted or not diverted stays with the controller. And there has to be a trust built into the data systems in there, because he finally has to do the final decision. So there is a journey that you build out the predictive models, but also the person sitting in front of it must trust it, must see it. So this whole journey needs to be covered. And for me, the solution of this journey is centrally provide the data, decentrally work with it, and make it as your own tool, and then you can rely on it like with a hammer or every other tool you rely on it. But this is not easy done. It's a journey that takes years.
Ekbel, yes, no, maybe.
Yeah, if I may to add, yeah, clearly in a technology point of view, I think there is many things that we can overcome, and I fully agree with you that there is a lot of area where we can bring a lot of value to our businesses. At least the speed of the adoption of this kind of solution within the business, at least the change of the process, the maturity in the business side, at least to change their way of working and their way of at least look into the data and what it can bring is slower, let's say, than the IT journey. I'm not saying that we are sometimes seen as slow and costly, but sometimes I also see that also this adoption in the business side is totally changing in the mindset how they should work with this kind of solution. And this is where we can bring value also as IT to our customer and supporting them in this journey.
And may I just add on this, there are different areas, right? For example, on the customer side, you can allow an error, right? But you cannot allow it in operation. So in the early days of the autopilots in your cars, it was easy just to drive into kind of a road you shouldn't get into. And this type of behavior, you don't want to have in an operation control center. You want to have extra scrutiny. So I think this part of is a learning and experience journey, which is also good sometimes to be slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just add as well, I agree entirely with Henning on the point around centralizing the data but decentralizing the decision. I think that's a really good way of describing it. And I think the value of that as well is that, putting myself in your shoes as a CIO, the task of getting all the data you need at the right quality, all in one system, that is a massive, massive task, and that's a multi-year program. And I think it can feel daunting. The value of having it decentralized is then those decentralized decision makers can say, this is the use case I have, these are the problems I want to solve, and you use that to drive the roadmap of what needs to be built into the centralized system. So I think that's one of the best ways I've heard it being described. I don't want to underestimate the challenge, but I think it's a really, really good way of thinking about the problem.
The challenge is about letting loose, right?
Yeah.
Because people love their data, as you also said. But it's the most value of the data is not where it's generated typically, but where it's consumed. Mm-hmm. So it's letting it loose. So one of the things we are changing right now is our operation model. We had a very strong data team with a lot of analysts, and now we are federating this out. We're keeping a core which manages the data platform, is the enabler for that, but we are federating out all of the data teams as close as possible to the problem, because then actually the change can happen. It cannot happen in the center. So it's about letting loose.
Letting it loose doesn't seem like very airline kind of terminology, does it? Well, what
if it's cyber secure, so we can do it, zero-based trust.
Yeah. Okay, which is interesting because I want to talk about the main challenges you're facing. Now, you have talked about governance, but there must be challenges around resourcing, and that could be staff, that could be financial. There must be challenges around mindset. Talk to us about those kind of challenges.
Letting it loose. No, I think one of the main challenges that we have in the airline is not the data itself. My team told me since 75 years, we have an operational research department working with data, and out of this is also everything working. So working with data in commercial, we are used to it. We are doing it in operational, we do it all over the place. So data is very much at the core of the airline. I think even more than other industries, it has been very early years that they are trying to exploit data also for commercial benefits, for operational benefits, and so on. So that journey, I think, is where we are on. We are used to it. Mm-hmm. The thing which becomes difficult in airline environment is airlines have a very strong gene pool. Like 95% of our people are more than 20 years there, and they really kind of know how the system is done. And I think then people like you come in, our partners come in, who know how to look at it in a different way. Like when you talk about Gen AI today, that is a complete different approach of doing it. So the challenge that I see is actually this merge of these two worlds.
Okay.
Between the airline gene pool, which we need to have because legacy is kind of where the value is, with the ideas of the future to start exploiting it.
I mean, day to day, I see a lot of crossover. I see people from, the technology providers come into the airlines, and I see people from the airlines go into the technology providers. So that must be helpful. It is absolutely. And
I really would like to encourage this. But also airlines are very strong family-oriented. You're part of the family if you know every of these 3-letter codes. And there are more than airports, so everything is a 3-letter code. Our people from tech don't know this by heart. It's not a start. The thing I think which connects us is the eagerness to solve really complex, beautiful problems. I think that connects us. And actually, those problems make people fly to other continents. So it's actually a great purpose behind it. If we can look on this excitement, this purpose together, I think there we will find the connection in. So it's, for me, not so much about a challenge, but it's about keeping up the excitement.
Ekbel, do you see beauty in the problems?
Yeah, there is a lot of beauty in on those kind of problems. So yeah, honestly, with operation research, also background myself, I started in the airline in this department, and having a strong culture of data and operation research, at least in all the the traditional airlines. So let's say it's where it's exciting our people at least to solve this complex problem, having everything working to make the D-Day, the flight, flying at the right moment with the customers, with the baggage, with the crew, is a key challenge each day. Really creating the product in face of our customers. So this is what is really exciting in this kind of industry compared to the others. And I think this is what it makes also the organization quite complex. It's how to choose between centralize the skills, at least to enable and to leverage at least things, and decentralize to have this proximity toward the business to make things unlock it. So having this right balance between centralizing some resources, centralizing some kind of skills to unlock value, and having this proximity with the business is really key, and it's what makes at least our life exciting. And working also with an ecosystem of partner, because traditionally, airline industry, we have built a lot of solutions. We have now a lot of legacy, and that we are phasing out, and embedding many platforms in our ecosystem and making them working together and at least communicating together is one of the challenges of in the information system.
Okay, let's move on to AI, applications of AI. Customer service is a big one. Jeremy, what are you seeing out there that excites you when it comes to AI?
Well, I think you only have to walk around the conference and attend some of the showcases to see just how much progress has been made in the last year alone. And 2 years ago when I was here, so much of it was theory, so much of it was marketing speak, and I think now, seeing some real kind of proof of concepts and real systems in production. Still a fair amount of marketing speak as well, but I think that the progress is being made. From an airline perspective, there's kind of three broad categories as I see it. There's the stuff you see as a consumer. There's the agents you see that are helping with booking, rebooking, customer service. There's stuff that's slightly less visible around the kind of revenue management side, and there's a huge amount of work being done there. And it's a challenging space, right? Revenue management has always been probably the most advanced team within the airline in terms of use of data science and use of advanced analytics, but the pressures that team is under, with dynamic pricing, continuous pricing, all the personalization that they want to do, that's a lot to take on. I think the stuff that interests me the most and excites me the most is where AI models are being used to combine data that maybe wasn't combined before. So taking data sets from across the airline, but also external data sets and maybe kind of new indicators that weren't previously being analyzed. A really good example of that, we see it in kind of network planning teams where they're increasingly looking at the downstream impacts of network planning on their operations. So rather than just thinking about, how do I set the network for the next 6 months, you can start to look at the downstream impacts of delays, cancellations, congestion at airports, misconnections, and take all of that information into the network planning team and kind of build simulations to say, where are we structurally creating challenges in our network, which mean later on we're going to have delays in our system. And I think that it's a really, really powerful demonstration of using machine learning techniques and kind of advanced analytics to approach problems in a different way. And that probably couldn't have been done before. So that's a good example of using data sets from across the airline and using external data sets around what's going on at that airport, what's going on with other airlines in the network, and combine that all together. So that for me is a really good use case. I know that Air France, KLM are doing that, Air Canada, Alaska Airlines. It's increasingly we're seeing that in those teams.
Well, just before we talk about some of those use cases, how far do you think AI will sort of help us leap forward? And do you think there'll come a point where we'll go, okay, we need to sort of stop now and take stock and maybe choose a little bit more? Because I think there's a little bit, certainly across the wider travel industry, a little bit headless chicken at times.
Possibly, yeah, possibly. I think the power in the operational teams is you can pick fairly focused use cases and say, well, let's build a proof of concept here. Let's see what we learn. Not all of those are going to be successful. The ones that are successful, you can then start to build into production. And I think for me, the stage we can get to for now is kind of augmented decision making. So there will still be a human in the loop. They'll still have the kind of recommendations explained to them in a way that is understandable, but we're not yet at the stage where we're necessarily letting a kind of machine learning tool make the decision. It's more saying, here's a recommendation, here's how I built this recommendation, but still the human needs to make the final call. And I think that's a really good place to be. There's a lot of talk about where an agentic future might take us, but I think for now that's a really good way of doing it, and it takes into account a lot of the kind of safety and compliance considerations that are unique to airlines.
Sreejith, best, most impactful, most efficient, kind of tangible example of AI that you're seeing right now?
Yeah, when people talk about the aviation, usually they think about airline, airport, runways, etc. But I believe that the new engine driving the industry is AI. AI can be applicable to the end-to-end life cycle of the aviation industry, starting from the customer end, then operations, then airports, sustainability, safety and security. It can be disruption management. If I look into mainly look in the customer end, AI can be helpful for the personalization, 24/7 the AI-powered chatbot, also providing the smart offers, also providing the cybersecurity risk, etc., fraud protection, etc. If I look in the operation side, AI can completely transform the operations, especially for the flight scheduling, crew planning, dynamic pricing, predictive maintenance, etc. But if I look in the airport side, AI can transform the airport, especially, and it can definitely help the staff and the passenger, especially managing the passenger flow, also the cargo planning, also for the tracking of the luggage. Also, the sustainability is another important aspect. AI can definitely make airlines greener, identify the eco-friendly routes and where the fuel efficient and avoid the bad weathers. The another aspect is the safety and security. And as you know that safety is the most aspect in the airline industry, especially for the AI can be used to understand the signals or the logs coming from the engines or the parts of the aircraft to identify the failures much before, so that predictive maintenance can be done. Also another aspect is the disruption management. Disruption management, especially to AI can proactively identify the potential delay and suggest to the passenger alternative flight options. So overall, the AI should not be treated as an add-on. It should be treated as a core capability.
Yeah. Thank you. Henning, I read that BA has a tool, a predictive tool that collates and assesses in real time so that it can maybe pick out where routes might face delays later, sort of before they happen.
KLM has it as well.
Right. So what sort of impact does that make? What sort of gains does that make?
So I think on this specific use case, but you have the same, Lufthansa has the same. So it's like these use cases, we have them and we're exploiting them in the moment. And that actually gives us the opportunity to go away from the average into actually the right action. So what I mean is, if you have, for example, a delay problem, your OTP is not D50, it's something in the 50s, you just inject buffer into it. If you do it on average, you just kind of lose your profitability and you're gone. Yeah. You actually need to have AI, machine learning, just to inject the buffers at the right place. Or in terms of, if you have a disruption, just to take out the rights, not the wrong planes. That's what we do. That's what these tools are in there. But I actually like the view also from Jeremy, because what is the journey we are on? the journey is we have all those use cases, and I definitely think we have not exploited all of them. We can be much better in this. And that's what you've done also, I think, with BCG and KLM, what Lufthansa Technik does with Avatar and so on. So we have all those use case-oriented things. Revenue management. I think the journey we are on is into becoming a holistic solver. So today, all of those things are single isolated things, but think about an airport, think about a turnaround. It's the airport, it's the airspace, it's the airline, it's the passenger, it's actually the maintenance and so on. And what you would like to do is not to solve in the island, not the min-max solution for the single thing, but actually like to solve the big thing.
Yeah.
You can run your Monte Carlo on it, but that is kind of time consuming, it doesn't give you anything. With AI, actually, you would have at the first time a possibility with a modern solver technology to start solving these holistic problems, which gives a complete different type of answer.
Yeah.
It feels like we are at the verge of that this is going to happen at the moment. That's what I think is really exciting.
Ekbel, that goes back to when we were talking at the beginning of the session on, data investment and priorities, and you said it's not customer or operations, it's across the organization.
Yeah, definitely, and I fully agree with you. At least you mentioned it all. At least there is two areas for me. There is this integrated operation planning, gathering all the stakeholders around operation when you are building your network, when you are building the schedule, and taking into account and anticipating all the ground operation, at least constraint, the crew constraint, the maintenance constraint, and putting them all together. This is where we are investing a lot. We see that we are exactly in the verge of game changer there, because we are solving each one in each own silo and having a lot of processes back and forward, at least to change the schedule. Now we are trying at least to put this and to have this holistic view with machine learning, looking what are the possibilities and how to adapt, at least to improve the connection flows within the hub, to take into account also all the maintenance constraints. And this is at least a change in the way of working in all the operation side. And the other side, when we look to the customer revenue point of view, at least we are one of the rare big companies which have their own revenue management system, pricing revenue management system. We are investing a lot also in pricing revenue management 4.0, what we call, and we are looking at least with all the sensitivity of what are the changes of the demand, the fast change in demand, and how, thanks to the AI-based tooling, what we can do is in terms of dynamic pricing, at least in different routes. We are still in the experimentation phase, but we are trying at least to shape it in more at scale. And probably for the end customers, there is many things which is related. So at least to destination recommender. So at least what is the next destination, looking in a conversational way, at least through the digital channel, what we can do there. This is the area where we are looking and we are investing a lot. And of course, we are not there yet. There is some area where we are live, but at least not at scale. And that scaling that at a bigger scale is really important. I wanted to mention one topic probably which is also important, probably for the technology part. So also for the IT people, we are going through an important transformation using for the developer journey from at least so user story, building the testing, generating the code, documenting all the legacy system that we have, retro-documenting all the legacy system, that we can go much more faster. And this is also an important change, at least, which is AI can bring, not directly for the airline, but at least to enable what the airline can do.
I like the idea of us being on the verge of something, the breakthrough, being able to do things holistically. Jeremy, given how rapidly things are evolving right now, do you think it's possible to future-proof our investments?
I think it is. I think it's really hard. I think no one can say where we'll be in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time. I think the challenge as I see it, and I don't think this is just for airlines, I think it's probably for any organization, is how do you balance the investments and resource between building the underlying data and data infrastructure, which is, as we said, a massive task in itself, and running proof of concepts, running experiments, running kind of AI pilots. Clearly there's a role to play for partners in that. but everyone needs to think very carefully about where to deploy partners, because I think if we get this right, there's certain things within the tech stack and within that kind of AI stack that the airlines will want to own themselves, because that will be the core differentiation, and that will be the thing that allows them to, to outcompete their peers. So partners can't be used for everything, but they can definitely help to accelerate. And I think clearly the role we play in that is mostly around the kind of external data sets that we can bring and some of the kind of insights that sit on top of that. There's plenty of vendors here today that will want to do a lot around the kind of revenue management space, and I think that's a really, really interesting area of how much of that tech stack should we own, and how much should we look to others.
I'm going to ask you the same question, Sreejith, but I want to ask it slightly differently. How many steps ahead as a technology partner do you need to be than your airline?
Especially to bringing AI. Today, many of the airlines use a lot of legacy systems, which are very costly, complex, and hard to change. But if you are building AI above those things, it will not give you the adequate result. Especially the fragmented system, or the poor quality data, or the slow process will continue. Okay, so what we need to do is that first of all, airline need to focus on modernize their core system, then they look into the clean up the data, and come up with the strong, robust digital roadmap. Once we have this in the system, then if you build the AI on top of these things, it can give adequate results. But timing is very much critical, because I believe that if we can adopt the AI quickly, it can give multiple benefits, like new revenue streams, the schedule delay can be avoided, loyalty can be improved, maintenance cost can be reduced, multiple aspects.
Okay, we're going to wrap up here, a few minutes left. I want a couple of sentences from each of you, starting with you, Henning. The idea of AI being the opportunity that airlines need to start afresh. Is there a sense that if we don't do it now, we're compounding decades of bad investment, kind of bad decisions, challenges with legacy systems? So how are we going to avoid the mistakes of the past with AI?
The mistake of the past would be not to do it. The thing is, AI, as you just said also, it's happening in our place. We as a digital departments have to deliver this, and we have to do it together with our partners, as you said. An airline is used to work with partners. Take a look at all the MROs, all the innovation in the MRO industry is not what an airline does, but what our MRO partners do, or in customer, etc., in catering, etc. So we're very much used to it. I think the error you can do is not going on this journey.
Okay.
And I was thinking of the investments we are doing, how much future-proof is it? Exchanging the old system and pulling in new systems which give accessibility to the data, definitely check mark, otherwise you cannot go onto this journey. Consolidating your data in a single data function, data model, you cannot start on this journey if you don't, check mark on this. Every and each use case that we generate will not be there for 20 years. It has to be like 2 years ROI, or 3 years ROI. But nevertheless, going on this journey is kind of invaluable. Just think about the Google and e-commerce journey. If you would have not started an e-commerce journey in the 2000s, you would have not understood how customers act in a virtual space. And the same is happening to AI. And last word, I believe we have to also bring our employees on this journey.
Ekbel, 30 seconds, the sense that we need to take advantage of AI.
You have said it all. No, yeah, what I can add, so yeah, clearly our employees and our partner creating an open ecosystem, because I think that things will change rapidly. So agentic AI assistant was not there a few months ago, and now we see that there is a lot of value there. So really being open, enabling many many partner and platform working in an open way is really key.
Perfect. 30 seconds.
I can think about a couple of aspects quickly. One is bring the right investment. Second is the data quality, improve the data quality. Third is the scale in which adoption can happen. Second is the speed in which we need to bring it. Fifth one is the team buying. because we need to bring all the team to buy in this one, because many people think that they lose the job because of the AI, because we need to make them understand AI is a helper, is a more kind of, it will be supporting the people instead of, it's a kind of a opportunity rather than a threat.
Jeremy, round it up for us. Sense that this is our opportunity to really make a mark.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely is an opportunity, but that doesn't mean there's still a lot of scope to get it wrong, right? And I think the way to think about it really is that there's kind of almost two investment models. There's large investments that we need to make which are long term, and they're almost guaranteed to be needed over a long period of time, which is all the data and all the data infrastructure. I think from a sort of AI model perspective, it's a much shorter investment cycle, and there needs to be much more capacity and ability to fail, to learn, and to improve. And as Henning says, a lot of these use cases won't last for more than 2 years, but there's a lot that can be done in those 2 years, which will then set up for the next 2 years and the next 2 years and the next 2 years. So I think those two investment models is a really good way of thinking about it from a sort of pure finance perspective.
Gentlemen, thank you for your great insights.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.